not necessarily. But generally, even you go for low intensity
No, I'm just saying that theoretically, industrial alcohol that's not organic, but they can measure.
Why don't you say?
You want to put this up on the wall?
Involved in everything.
Really good for educated
How are both ecosystem services and biodiversity and to be easier on countries which are more higher precipitation. Really all of it. And it's a problem because those Israel, for example, those who want to green the desert by agriculture, forestry, whatever, they say what you want. We have increased biodiversity. You have increased services. You have more deforestation, you have more use, I mean, we're debating with them about using
so we have one limitation.
just wondering if there were any, I don't know, maybe from the Sahara or
That should be an implementation. Implementation number one. Control forest fires. The opposite. Because we control too much. For natural ecosystem processes, we need to allow
not really, not so, were you involved in any way to
we can only, in this case I would say we assume that visitors, that most of the fires start to go to sea.
Israel?
Right.
Yeah, so we see grants and we
indicated that they were identified all the rest.
these are real grants, so they are not
One was population in the
number.
other one was related to the system.
You speak to
they said this.
No, at that stage anyway, there was a review being done for a year. Just register for interpretation in the field. They have
forest fires were increasing in recent times. Greg, you want the statement about like we're using this guy.
Okay, so yes, so
You write.
okay, yeah.
Just
Take a message when you see this. What is it?
talked about this,
Which one is good?
We will miss unless
yes, there will be. Well, actually, it's probably across the whole country. And that's
we will miss
No. No. Yeah, I'm talking about it.
with direction, goal, one area,
And then again, we also drive we drive the left side and we also wonder why that go.
Yeah, that is great. Yeah, number one.
and there's some customers that think they so I think Sweden
Which way?
but I must be correct about because you're from the labor of
Can we read that out across? Which we need to just.
This is simplified.
This is our
interpretation.
interpretation.
Yeah. That looks great.
Yeah, that's basically this.
Okay.
So
Can I
we
move
make it
this?
so that increase of ranges does not affect, does not give good result. But increase in frequency will most probably give this again in price. So that's control to write that.
Well, I think we'll just read it out. Okay, everybody. Okay, everybody, please come and present and see your results. Please come. Please stand up. Please come and see the results, everybody. Please, everybody, stand. Well, you might get hidden if you sit down still. So, let's have the results of Malaysia first. Who's going to present results for Malaysia? One or two people. So, can you explain what say what your key question was, your target, and who is the audience that you decided to communicate for, and then the results.
Okay, our key question is what is the current rate of loss of key coastal and marine habitats, and the target is by 2020 mangrove and coral reef loss is halted. And this is the data. We have this is for coral reefs and this is for mangroves. This is the map of the coral reefs, 1985, 1999, and the present, 2011. And this is showing the geographic distribution of coral reefs and amount of coral reefs, and this is the graphic representation of the coral reefs. As you can see, there is a steady linear decline in the amount of coral reefs, and our interpretation of the result is the coral reefs continue to decline at a constantly high rate. And for the mangroves, if you can see it, the same presentation, but rate of decline, as you can see in this map, in this graph, rate of decline is increasing. And the mangrove loss, mangrove loss this decade has more than doubled. And I forgot to mention the key audience, so the targeted audience. It's a ministerial level ministers in general. Without any technical knowledge about the ecosystems, but the ministerial level can make decisions. And emphasizing that the data loss is high, and this also it's very important to point out that the data loss of mangrove is increasing, accelerating. So it's addressing this target is very difficult. We need to speed up the measures to fight against this loss.
Great. Thank you, Malaysia. Any questions or observations about the presentation of Malaysia?
Well, I think that the representation of the first indicator, the tool for representation, is really very good, because you can see especially where the degradation occurs, and it helps also to decision makers to understand where they firstly need to act.
Great, thank you. Nope. Okay, should we go to Kamlan then?
Okay, we're presenting the data for the Minister of Environment, because he's asked from us, and our main aim was how effective, or key question was how effective is our habitat management. And our target is by 2020 to eliminate forest fires in our forested national parks. Now, it's important to keep in mind it's national parks. Over here in that graph, as you can see, that yes, the forest fires have increased with time, but if you look at the number of tourists that we're getting compared to the number of rangers that we have, it clearly shows that we don't have enough rangers to accommodate these tourists. So you, my minister, if you would allow us to increase budget and help us to increase our rangers and look at our management plans to effectively manage our fires if we want to reach our target by 2012. Is there anything else you would like to add? The rest of the team, this is it.
There's one thing I forgot to ask for Malaysia as well, is any limitations about the data or the indicator?
Yes, we had a really big limitation, is we were data deficient. In that, first of all, it was only one national park, and then the data that was given to us per acre was per hectares, and it didn't correlate because we had in square kilometers as well. But I would ask my technical team here to add, is there anything else in the data that was deficient?
We could only make assumptions. We noticed, we could only make assumption that this recent increase in fires is due to increase in tourist numbers. We don't know whether fires are caused by tourists or by some other reasons, but we assume that this is related. Yeah, this is related. We need further investigation and more data in order to really to prove it. But
great. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you. I was just wondering if the justification presented related to if really it's possible to compare the number of tourists and the number of rangers, because I think tourists always must have in high numbers than rangers. It's not possible to have the same number or to have more rangers. Yeah. So I think you are not very like when you compared the number of rangers with the number of tourists. Maybe you should have found another justification for this reason, but the normal is to have much more tourists than rangers. And
you're absolutely right, and this is one of the things why we said we have to redesign our management approach. But with the data deficiency that we have, this is the only assumption that we could do. If anyone else would like to add,
we noticed that until about 2007-8, increase in ranges, because you see our government invested in ranges and their numbers slightly grew up. But since that year, since 2007-2008, fire started again growing up in numbers, and it corresponded very also well with increasing tourist numbers. So we would suggest to our ministry to pay more attention on the proper tourist management, not decreasing the numbers of tourists. We invite them, we appreciate that they come to our national parks, but we would rather draw attention of our minister to apply better management, channelizing maybe tourists, better facilities, more control, measures like these.
Why the audience are just from Ministry of Environment? Why not a tourism organization or maybe other decision makers? Because yeah, you cannot manage the tourism.
It's because in terms of our international responsibility, the Ministry of Environment is the one that's most accountable to the international Aichi targets, and as such we look to them to provide leadership and to engage the other ministries to achieve the targets that we need to have, but the champion for us has to be the Minister of Environment.
Okay, very good. I'd like to make a couple of points on this as well. Just one here. You just sketched on here just fires, rangers. It's just you put little figures on. You just illustrated it just a little bit, and just notice how much more attractive the graph is already. With just a but so think about the communication, the presentation of this as well. Just graphic images. You know, people think not just in numbers and lines. So make it human, and that's also where we say test and refine your indicator and the communication of your indicator with the stakeholders. So you produce your first version like this, and then there's a step in the framework that says test and refine indicators. So find either the minister or somebody else who, like the minister, show it to them. Say, do you understand this, or how can we improve this? That's one thing. Then also we've been saying that indicators are purpose dependent. It's like the interpretation of the data depends on the purpose. So here we have our purpose is this question: how effective is our habitat management as part of the bigger question of conservation of habitats and the Aichi target. And so we have data here, and the interpretation of that data is in relation to helping us answer this question of how effective is our habitat management. And as you've rightly said, there's questions about, well, is there a relationship between tourists and rangers and fires? Just because we have these data, is there a relationship? And it's a sensible question, it's a good question. And just remember that the indicator only indicates. It's not the whole story, it's not the whole answer to the question. It's just helping us indicate something, like saying, okay, what is happening here then? It's an indication that we need to do some more research or ask more questions and so on. That's one thing. And to help with that, if you remember, in the framework, there's one of the steps at the top in the red called develop a conceptual model, which unfortunately we haven't had time to do today, but I do recommend to have a look at the pages 20, 21 in the guidance, because at that stage, what you do is you've got your key question, you've got your target, your indicator use, and you develop a conceptual model of that subject. It's like a simple diagram of, okay, so we've got a target here of forest fire, so you want to know how much forest there is, how much fire there is, what might be the causes of fires, what measures are we taking to address fires, like we have rangers or we have education. You take all of those issues around it and you try and put them on a piece of paper, like with boxes and arrows or linkages. How do these things fit together? Just start to think of a conceptual model of this, and then that helps your understanding of the subject, and then helps you guide the interpretation, the communication of it, to be able to explain these things, and to tell it more like a story as well, to sort of explain there's a story